Hello and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes and today you join me from the cockpit of Maud, my Mk1 Escort Mordor, and I'm on the way down to the garage to work on my other Escort, my ST170 Mark 1. It is way too hot to be working on cars today, but as you'll know if you watch my last video right till the end, I actually managed to get the ST170 engine started the other day, which has given me a little bit of motivation. As I say, today's video is all about the Mark 1, but I do have a little bit of an announcement to make about Maud, specifically about the clutch I replaced recently that failed prematurely. I gave that friction plate back to Burton Power, who sent it back to AP Racing, and now Burton Power have been credited and I've been refunded in full. I know a lot of you in the comments were saying that I should have got a refund straight away because my contract was with Burton Power and not AP Racing, which is legally correct. But I had a little bit of money in my account anyway, so I just wanted to buy a new clutch, get Maud back on the road, and then worry about the arguing later. As it turns out, I didn't need to do any arguing, and I got the result that I wanted. So I want to send a massive thanks out to Burton Power for being so good about the whole situation. If any of you out there haven't got yourselves on Burton Power's mailing list, make sure you do. They'll send you their free catalogue, and then whenever they bring out a new catalogue, they'll automatically send you one as well. Not only does it show all the parts that they sell, but there's also some really good technical information in there as well. So even if you never plan on buying parts from Burton Power, it's definitely worth getting a copy of their catalogue. And if you do ever speak to them on the phone, make sure you let them know that I sent you. That being said, it shouldn't be too long till I get to the garage, so I'll catch up with you when I get there. Right, so I just got to the garage and Fred is here taking his Mark 1 Fiesta away. What scrapyard's it going to in case anyone wants any parts? So that's Fred's Mark 1 Fiesta going back to his garage. I'll keep you posted if and when any progress gets made on it. But now I'm going to get the Mark 1 out and crack on. So there she is, looking absolutely filthy. I really need to give her another wash soon. But I'm not going to worry about that now. I'll just explain why she was struggling to start last time. Now these Zetec engines run a wasted spark ignition system, which basically means that the coil pack is actually two coil packs in one, and each one of those coil packs controls two spark plugs. One of them controls 1 and 4 and the other one controls 2 and 3, and basically two spark plugs spark at a time, so it goes 1 and 4, 2 and 3, 1 and 4, 2 and 3, and obviously only one of those sparks actually ignites the fuel, hence the name wasted spark. What I had to do to get this to run was in the software, under the inputs and outputs tab, I think, there's a table that basically shows what pin on the ECU is connected to what component on the engine. And obviously, there's a bit of that table that says coil A and coil B. And obviously, coil A was connected to coil A and coil B was connected to coil B. All I had to do was switch those around so that coil A was connected to coil B and coil B was connected to coil A, and then the engine started right up. So the engine now runs, but the car is not ready to be put on the road yet. But hopefully today I'll be able to get another couple of jobs done to get it nearer to being back on the road. Now I haven't done much on the car since the last time you saw it, but I have been fiddling around with a bit of wiring. Now before I had my headlight and fan relay over here, because this car used to run a Pinto, and on a Pinto the exhaust is over that side, so it was quite a good place to put those two relays down here, quite close to the battery and obviously away from heat. But now I'm running this engine with the exhaust manifold this side, I wanted to move the relays away from there. Now where I'm going to be putting those relays is down here, which meant I had to unravel all this wiring loom down here and basically run the wires to this side of the engine bay. While I was at it, I ran a brand new slightly thicker wire from the battery to basically power up the whole car, so it ties into the power lead that goes through the bulkhead there to power everything inside the car. And it also comes round here, and it's also going to be hooked up to my alternator. Now this Nippon Denso alternator needs to be wired a little bit differently than the original one. Whereas before you had two wires that were basically tied into the power feed for the car, and one wire that was hooked up to the dash light, whereas this alternator needs one wire that is tied in to the power feed and to the battery and that, another feed that is a switched feed from the ignition, and the wire that goes to the dash light. So while I've been having all this unravelled and I've been sorting out the wires for these relays, I've also laid the wires that I need to power up the alternator. So what I'm going to do now is basically finish up that little wiring job, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. Right, so I've now got the relay holders where I want them, all wired up. Took a bit longer than I was expecting. I forgot to run some wires so that I can plug them into the fan switch over here to obviously activate the fan. So I've got them now. Had to unravel all this and wire them up and then ravel it all back up again. So yeah, that's sorted. I've still got the alternator wiring to finish off, but a plastic Fiesta's turned up that needs some new drop links fitting. Belongs to Kat's brother Jack, and my glamorous assistant's with me as well. Hopefully she'll give me a hand, because he won't. Yeah, so we'll get Jack's plastic Fiesta jacked up and see if I can figure out how to fit these drop links. All done, boss.
Fantastic.
So hopefully that will cure the noise that's been coming from the front suspension of Jack's plastic Fiesta. Kat and Jack have just gone to the shop to get me a drink as payment for my labour. Now I'm going to crack on with the alternator wiring on the Mark 1. So just to show you the difference, this is the standard Ford type alternator plug, but the Nippon Denso alternator uses a plug like this, which attaches to two of the terminals, and then the main power feed just attaches to here. So I need to put a ring on the wire and then just screw the nut down. Now I've got this plug from Car Builders Solutions, and I'll leave a link to their website in the description. They do loads of stuff for building cars, not just electrical stuff, but they also supplied these terminals that I've been using today to wire up those relays. Car Builders Solutions is a company that I've known about for ages, but I don't really use that much. But every time I have used them, the bits I've got from them can't be found cheaper anywhere else, and they always get stuff delivered really quick as well, so definitely worth checking them out. Well, the plastic Fiesta's still making a racket at the front, so I'm going to jack both front wheels up and see if I can see any bushes are worn or anything. Everything seemed alright. The noise he was getting was coming from the front driver's side, and only when he goes over bumps, which is why we thought it was the drop links. One thing I did notice when I was under there is that the exhaust is able to move about too much due to some really soft exhaust mount rubbers. I've replaced them with a couple of decent second-hand ones that I had in the garage, but as I say, the noise was coming from the front end, so I don't think that's going to cure the problem, but I'll find out later when I speak to Jack. So now I can finally crack on with the Mark 1. So now it's time for me to wire up the alternator using this plug, and I also need to cut this red wire down to the right length. Right, so I've got the alternator all wired up now. Just got a ring terminal added to this red wire here, and I've just used a bit of solder and heat shrink to hook up my plug that I got from Car Builder Solutions. So that's all sweet. I was going to rivet my relay holders to the body here, but I've realised that I don't have the battery for my drill, so I'll have to do that another day. But I've added a ring to this battery wire as well, so that's ready to hook up to a battery. The ring terminals I've used, I basically bought this multi-pack from eBay, and I'll leave an eBay link in the description for anyone who wants to get some of them. This battery is absolutely fucked, so I'll have to get a new battery. Fred charged it up with his charger. Now his charger would actually charge it, whereas mine wouldn't, but the battery just hasn't got any power at all. One thing I didn't mention earlier is I've now wrapped my loom on this side of the engine bay with the heat-proof stuff that I got off eBay. Came from a company called Sunderly, I think it was. but I got it on eBay. This is a slightly smaller size than I bought before. The one I bought before was 25mm, and that's the diameter once you've velcroed it up. And this one is the 19mm one. Still a little bit saggy, but yeah, it's a much better size to use. I'll leave a link to both of those in the description as well. All I've got to wire up now regarding these two relays that are going to be here is the feed to the fan itself, and then obviously there'll be a wire coming off of the fan going to earth. And I've got these two earth wires here to attach to the body. I'll probably attach them to this screw here, which is where this earth strap attaches to. And then over here I've got these two wires that I need to hook up to the fan switch. I'm going to get myself a plug for the fan switch, similar to what I've used on moored here. Now I was going to buy one of these in Halfords the other day, but these are brown and I want to get a black one for the Mark 1. I know it might seem silly, it's only a plug, but no other electrical plugs in the engine bay are brown, so I want to get a black one. I've got a load of jobs underneath the Mark 1 that I plan to do today. I don't think I'm going to be able to get them all done, but I'm going to jack the car up now and see what I can get done. Right, so I've got the car jacked up. Now the first thing I'm going to do is whip the anti-roll bar off and fit the bushes that go here where the anti-roll bar meets the track control arms. Those of you who have been watching my videos will remember that the yellow ones that were fitted in there basically disintegrated last time I had it apart. I've got these used Superflex bushes to go in that I had in my garage. Now Superflex are the cream of the crop when it comes to bushes on these cars, so I shouldn't have any problems with these. And luckily, last time I put this anti-roll bar back on the car, I only done 2 out of the 4 bolts up tight, both sides, so this shouldn't take long at all. Right, so that's the anti-roll bar on with the Superflex bushes fitted. Another thing I'm going to do while I'm under here is fit the spacers in between the crossmember and the chassis. I've done the same thing on my Mark II. Now the reason I need to do that is because with the Neil Dunn sump and because I'm using the alloy rack clamps, the steering rack is far too close to the sump. Now by putting the spacers here, that's not going to cure the issue of making the gap bigger, but it will mean that then I'll be able to space the engine up to increase that gap. So these are the spacers I'm using. My mate George actually got this metal from work and had it cut to size, and then I just had to drill the holes myself, which I've done very unaccurately, so I've had to make them oversized, but they'll do the job. Now obviously if I'm going to be spacing my crossmember, I'm going to need to use some longer bolts. These are a WIERD Imperial thread, which I can't remember off the top of my head. But I got these on eBay, and I'll leave a link to them in the description of this video. I'm probably going to replace these for some more blingy ones eventually, but these will do for now. So I'm going to use the jack to take the weight of the crossmember, which obviously has the weight of the engine on it. And then I can remove the bolts that hold the crossmember to the chassis, and then I'll just lower the crossmember down a little bit, and then slip the spacers in, and then do it all back up with the longer bolts. Right, so I've got the spacers in there now, both sides. I'm still going to need to space the engine up. To do that, I'm going to refit these stainless steel engine mount cups to these rubbers. I did try and fit these when I put this ST170 lump back in the car, but I found that they made the engine sit too high. So now that I've actually spaced it all down, they should be okay and give me the space that I need between the rack and the sump. I'm going to do that another day, and that's going to involve getting the hoist out to hold the weight of the engine. I probably could jack the engine up and then drop the crossmember and do it, but there is one other job I want to do while I've got the hoist out, and that is behind there, there's a hole for an earth strap So I want to reattach that, and then that will also attach to one of the starter motor bolts down there. I was going to mount it somewhere else, but because I know that I'm going to need to try and refit those engine mount cups, I thought I'd have a go at fitting it in its right place when I do that. Now, before I finish up here today, while the car's jacked up, I'm just going to jack up the rear axle and get the car level, and then put some oil in the gearbox. After doing a bit of research online, I found out that the RX-8 6-speed gearbox takes this 75W90 fully synthetic gear oil. Like the Type 9, it does need to be GL4, but this is a fully synthetic, whereas the Type 9 uses a semi-synthetic. It says that it's suitable for Mazda, which is reassuring. Now, the good thing about these RX-8 6-speed gearboxes is that they have a drain hole as well as a filler hole. On the Type 9, you basically need to tip the oil out of the back of the gearbox, which involves jacking the front of the car right up in the air. But with these, it's a lot easier. So now that the gearbox has got oil in it, it means I can actually start the engine without having my foot on the clutch. Which means next time I start the engine, I'll be able to try and get it to idle nicer and make sure that the throttle bodies are balanced and just generally get it running how it should be. I'm going to save that for another day though. Right now, I'm going to pack up and make my way home. Massive thanks to everyone for your continued support on my channel. It really does inspire me to carry on. So if you thought this video was any good, give it a thumbs up. If you thought it was shit, give it a thumbs down. Click subscribe and activate the notification bell to be kept right up to date with any other videos that I post in the future. Make sure you check out my Facebook and my Instagram, and I'll leave the links you need for that in the description as well. Until next time, thanks for watching.